What's up, guys? Eric Vasquez here from teachmetodesign.com. Have you ever wondered how to go about creating your own font for a logo, a t-shirt, or even a sign? Well, in today's lesson, I'm going to give you guys 3 tips for how you can go about customizing an existing typeface and making it your own. Alright guys, so today we're going to be working in Adobe Illustrator, and we're going to start things off just by creating a new document that is 1280 pixels wide by 900 pixels tall. It doesn't have to be that exact, but that's usually kind of what I start off with. And without getting into too much of an explanation and opening up a whole can of worms here on this topic, I'm just going to say that whenever you're creating graphics for a logo or a shirt or anything like that that you're going to need to scale, it is always better to work in Adobe Illustrator so that you can work in a vector format. And the good thing about that is that vectors are in fact scalable. You can make them any size without worrying about a loss in quality or anything like that. So I want to show you guys a few ways, and I'm going to go into more detail about that maybe in another lesson perhaps. But for now, all you need to know is that we're working in Illustrator and we're going to be working in with vectors. So here I've just started off picking a nice kind of clean typeface, and what we're going to do, for those of you guys who may be new to Illustrator, I'll try to work at a reasonable pace here and just kind of explain things as I go. But right now we have our live type, which just means that you can edit it and make changes to it and everything like that. But when we start modifying a typeface to create something unique of our own, we actually want to change it to a shape. All right, and what we're going to do there is something called outlines. So we're going to go to Type, Create Outlines with our font selected, and you'll see now that we've got all of these different points, right? And these are all the points that make up our type here. So once you've done that, you can no longer change the type or the word, which is okay. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is grab our pen tool, which you can get by pressing P on the keyboard or coming over here to the toolbar and grabbing the pen tool that way. And then we're going to press D on the keyboard to get our default colors, okay? And down here you'll see you have a fill color in white and you've got a stroke color in black. We're going to turn that off so that it's set to none. Okay, so now we just have solid white basically. And what we're going to do is grab a few of these points and you're just going to delete them like that, okay? And don't worry, this is just kind of the first step here. So you don't have to worry about it looking all weird or anything like that. So we're going to click on the edge of this R to create a point, and then we're going to come over here and click and hold the mouse and then drag. All right, and that's going to allow you to change the curve of the type right here. Okay, and you can undo it, do it a few times if you need to. But the main objective here is just to get like a nice looking curve that kind of looks like it fits naturally with the letters. And if you have any other areas, you can just click around them and kind of fill in that shape as you go. All right, so once you've done that, you're going to select, press A to get your direct selection tool, and you're going to click and drag around this whole letter here. Okay, and then from there we're going to go to something called the Pathfinder. And this is basically what we use to join shapes or knock shapes out of other shapes and things like that. So what we're going to use is this Unite option here, and that's going to just combine all of those shapes together. Okay, now as you see, it still looks a bit odd, so we're going to switch back to our default colors and make sure that we have a solid white with no stroke. And then we're going to click somewhere along the middle of the letter where it's straight, and then we're going to click and drag again. Okay, and then we're just going to continue that path. Sorry, you have to click on the anchor point and then make another point here. Okay, and we're just going to close that shape. So, sorry for the sirens in the background, guys. So now you can see that we've kind of got a little bit more of a natural looking letter going on here. And with the direct selection tool, you can actually grab any of these individual points and tweak them, right? So now what we're going to do, we're going to use the Pathfinder again. This time select the white shape and the R, okay? And what we're going to do instead of uniting them is select minus front. So now you will have knocked the white shape out of the black shape, okay? So now we're going to come over to the M, and we're going to kind of do the same thing, right? We're going to grab white and kind of draw over the area that we want to get rid of, right? You can delete the points first, or you can just jump in and start, drawing over the shape if you want. All right, I'm going to, oops, yeah, right now if I select the M, it's grabbing all of these letters, which I don't want. So quick tip to get around that is to just go to Object, Ungroup, or you can press Command-Shift-G on the keyboard to ungroup that. Okay, then grab those two and do minus front. All right, and now you kind of have this little piece of the M here that you can use as a guide if you want to kind of fill this area in with black. You can, just try to follow that curve as best as you can, again by clicking and then dragging with the mouse. And then we're going to close that shape, okay? Grab that whole letter there and then unite them. All right, and this still looks a bit odd, so we're going to do what we did before. Grab a solid white, and we're just going to cut into the shape a little bit more, just so that it looks more even with the other side. Okay, and you'll see here if I zoom in, like this curve here is kind of cutting into the letter too much, so what we can do is select that point, again with the direct selection tool, or by pressing A on the keyboard, and then come up to this handle, and you can click and drag that handle to modify that shape, or that particular anchor point. All right, now we're going to knock that shape out again. So you see that's kind of a quick way. And now that all of our letters are ungrouped, you can kind of nudge them closer together using the arrows, or space them out if you want. You could also do something like this where you have the R kind of overlap the E a little bit. So let's say we want to use this E shape to cut into the R, this side of it. We're going to select it and then hold down Alt and Shift and click and drag the letter to the left. All right, so that's going to make a copy of it. We're going to press D on the keyboard to fill it with solid white and make sure that there's no stroke. And then we're going to press Command Shift and the right bracket to bring it to the front. And then do the same thing with the black so that it's in front of the white shape. Okay. Next, we're just going to select the white and kind of tap it up and move it a little bit so that we can see where it's cutting into the R. And when you're happy with that, you can select the E and then select the R. And we're going to come back to the Pathfinder again and do minus front one more time. All right, so now you've got the R is kind of looking like it's cut out and kind of hugging this the shape of the E here, which is kind of nice, okay? And then I'm going to select those three letters and hold Shift and slide them over to the right. Grab the M, hold Shift and slide it to the left. And there you go. That's kind of, you'll see what we started with here. We had this Avenir typeface, and we just kind of modified it to make it look a little bit more custom, okay? So that's one way you can go. All right, the next thing that I want to show you guys is this cool kind of trick. Let me see. This works better with a heavy, kind of bold, chunky font, like maybe, yeah, we'll use Avenir again. Why not? I've already got it. So I'm just going to do this with one letter this time just to show you guys how this works. But again, once you have your letter, we're going to go ahead and create outlines, which you can do by going to Type, Create Outlines, where you'll see the shortcut here is Command-Shift-O on the keyboard. All right, and that's going to give us our points. So once you've done that, go ahead and press M on the keyboard to get your rectangle tool. And I'm just going to come on the end of the letter here and create a rectangle. All right. And what I'm going to do next is change the color. All right. So I'm going to press X to make sure that I have my fill color selected. double click and just go ahead and fill it with you know, any color you want. It doesn't really matter right now. And what we're going to do is select that rectangle and then hold down Shift and Option on the keyboard and drag it over until you see how it's kind of snapping into place. All right, and then with that rectangle selected, just select the background color so that it's filled with white. Next, click and drag so that you have both of these rectangles selected, and then we're going to slide it over so that we can duplicate this. Okay, and we're going to do it one more time, just so it kind of goes, you know, blue, white, and kind of staggered like that. All right, now we're going to move it up here to the top of the J and press Command Shift and the left bracket to move it to the back so that the J is in front, and then we can use that to line up our rectangles with the letter. All right, and don't worry if you don't get it, you know, don't get it exact, because you can always zoom in and then just kind of drag it until it clicks in place. Okay, the next thing is we're going to use the eyedropper tool by pressing I on the keyboard, and we're going to select that blue color. And we're going to then grab the rectangle tool, and we're just going to make sure that this kind of lines up with the boxes here that we have, okay? Which it does, so that's good. All right, now we can actually select these white boxes and delete them, you know, because we were just kind of using it to align these shapes here. All right, so what we're going to do now is select the blue rectangles as well as this larger rectangle, come back to the Pathfinder and press Unite once more. Okay, and then that will actually bring it to the front, but we still want the J in front. Okay. Next, I'm going to zoom in and press A one more time and hold down the Shift key and click on the corners of these boxes here so that I can select those points. And all I'm doing is kind of staggering these a little bit to make it a little more random looking. You know, I don't want them all to be the same length here. Okay, maybe something like that. All right, you kind of see what I'm going for here. And then I'm just going to select this area, the blue, and then hold Alt and Shift and drag it over to the left so that we've got a copy of it. And then I'm going to select both of these shapes and merge them together. There you go. Now, you can come in here and kind of modify these further if you want. Now that they're combined, you know, I can move that area down and have it cut into the shape more. And you can use the direct selection tool to modify any of those points as you wish. All right, so with the copy, I'm actually going to flip it just by holding Shift, clicking on the corner, and just rotating it. That'll rotate it each time by 90 degrees. I'm going to bring this copy down here on the bottom. Okay, and again, I'm just going to try to line it up with the edges of the letter form here, like that. All right, and you know, don't be afraid to zoom in. I mean, you can really get up close with this. And again, one of the benefits of using Illustrator to do this is that, you know, because everything is a vector, it's actually composed of shapes as opposed to pixels or the tiny little squares that you would see in Photoshop. Okay. Now, from here, we're going to do the same thing where we select a few of these points and kind of stagger the shapes a little bit. We don't want it to be, you know, exactly like it was up top, so just try and keep that in mind. Okay, maybe something like that, and then we're going to select both of these again and unite them. Great. Okay, so we're getting there, guys. Stay with me. I'm going to use the direct selection tool again to click on some of these individual points and have them cut into this shape a little bit further. You don't have to do it with every one, but you know, do it with a couple of them. All right, and you know, don't worry about this stuff down here for now. We're actually going to get rid of that in the next step. So now this is all one shape, okay? It's looking pretty good so far. I'm going to press D on the keyboard again to make sure that I have a solid white. And I'm going to click down here at the bottom of the J. All right, and then I'm going to kind of have to guess where I want my next point to be. And I'm going to use the letter to kind of determine the trajectory of that shape. Okay, and then I'm going to click around, close that shape, and then return to the Pathfinder and do minus front again. So that will knock that area out. Excuse me. All right, now you'll see we've actually, if we come in here with our direct selection tool, we've got a few extra points which we don't want. So I'm going to select that one hanging out there and just delete it. Okay. Then we have this one. I'm actually going to keep that one, but I want to smooth it out a little bit more. So I'm actually going to select that point, then come in here with the pen tool. First, deleting that middle point actually. Come in here with the pen tool and click on that top point. Okay, we're going to try and just smooth it out a little bit. Or you know, it might actually be better to just follow this line. Hold down Shift so that you get a nice straight line when you click your second point. And then come down here and keep your shape on the outside of the letter. Close it and then subtract it one more time. Okay, so there you go. Here's what we have going so far. But the thing is, we want these corners to be kind of, you know, rounded and nice and smooth. So I'm going to show you guys how you can do that next. But before I do, I also need to fix this little area inside of the J here. Okay, and we're going to fill this area with black and keep it on the inside of the letter. Okay, and again, if you need to modify the point, don't worry about it. Just click on the shape, click on the point you want to modify, and use the handle to adjust it accordingly. Okay, when you're happy with it, select those and combine them. And now what we can do is add a couple of, you know, little stray pieces that are coming off of these. So again, I'm going to press M to get my rectangle tool. And I'm just going to create these little like shapes that look like they're kind of flying off, but I want them to be the same width as this. Here you go. All right, I'm just going to nudge that up a couple clicks. Make a copy of it, again by holding Alt-Shift and just dragging it off to the side. All right, something like that. You can copy it by pressing Command-C, and then Command-V to paste it. And we're just going to add a few more up here. Okay, so hopefully you guys are with me. Alright, so from here, I'm actually going to press L to select the circle tool, or the ellipse tool, whichever you prefer, the ellipse tool. And I'm going to come right to the edge of this first piece here and create a circle. I'm going to nudge it up and just make sure that it lines up with the sides here. Okay, like that. And I'm going to hold down Alt and Shift and drag it down to the bottom. Make a copy of it so I can reuse that. Then I'm going to just go ahead and merge these shapes together. Okay, and now I'm going to repeat that in order to get curves for the rest of these rectangles. So I'm just going to speed this up a little bit as I do this. Okay guys, so now what we're going to do is select all of these shapes, select the whole thing, and then hold down the Shift key and click on the white areas so that we are no longer having, so that we don't have those selected. All we have now are the black shapes. And we're going to go ahead and unite those, and then press Command-Shift left bracket to send them to the back. Select all the shape one more time, hold down Shift and click on the black area to deselect that. and we're going to group all of these white circles together, unite those, and then hold down the Shift key, select both, and press minus front. Oops, we actually got rid of some of these, which we didn't want to do. Copy that, ungroup it, Command Shift G, select these little flyaway parts, and we're actually going to press Command 2 on the keyboard to lock them for now. Alright, and again, select those and press minus front. And now Command F, and you will have, oops, sorry guys, not Command F. And now you will have everything there. So you just need to unlock that by pressing Command Alt 2 on the keyboard. And now you've got your whole shape here. So that's number 2. That's how you can kind of create this cool meteor type of effect, okay? And for the last thing that I want to show you guys, going to try and do this one pretty quick. Again, create an outline from this shape. And now what we're going to do is select the pen tool, and we're actually going to use a stroke. So press D on the keyboard to get your default colors, and then hold down Shift and press X, and that's going to swap the fill and the stroke colors. So you want to have a white stroke, and this time no fill. Okay. What we're going to do here is actually create some lines inside of this shape. Okay, so we're going to just stay with me here. We're going to hold down the Shift key and click to make each of these points. And then if you need to move them, press A to get your direct selection tool and select the points you want while holding the Shift key, and then you can move them freely. Okay. And what we're doing here is just kind of adding some cuts into this shape, okay? And you guys will see kind of what I'm doing here. All right, so I'm adding some cuts. Inside of the shape. Okay. And, you know, you just want to kind of create this beveled contour kind of effect. And you can make it, you know, as simple or as complex as you want, but because I'm doing this kind of quickly, I'm just kind of, you know, eyeballing it. But you guys will kind of see how it comes together in the next step. So here I'm just going to finish, you know, putting these cuts into the shape, like so. And now we have this white outline. So I'm going to select the black and lock it like we did before by selecting it and then pressing Command 2. I'm going to click and drag so that I have all of these white points selected. And before I do that, I'm just going to actually use the direct selection tool to modify this point a little bit so that it's not sticking out. There you go. And then we will select everything. And this time we're going to use something called divide. So that's going to knock all of this area out here. Okay, so now I've got, you know, all of these different shapes that I can select. And what we're going to do is just fill them with gradients. Okay, and you can press G to get your gradient and then kind of drag it so that it's you know, going in the direction you want. And you just kind of repeat this with the other shapes. And you can come over to your gradient here and actually make it a little more complex. What I like to do is kind of alternate between, you know, light and dark to make it a little bit more natural looking. So experiment with that a little bit. Play around with the fades and the blends and even the values that you have going here. And then just use the eyedropper to sample the gradients that you've already created and just change the direction. Okay, like that. Because you don't, you know, one thing to keep in mind is that you don't want every single shape to be exactly the same. You know, you don't want the same gradient or the same fill in every single one. So we're just going to continue to sample those and you know, kind of fill it in as we go. And now you can kind of see what we've got going here. We've got this cool kind of you know, beveled type of effect. All right. And there you have it, guys. Those are 3 quick ways, well, maybe not necessarily quick, but 3 ways that you can go in and customize typefaces that you can use for either logos, t-shirts, or anything else that requires some finessing or a more custom looking typeface. So I hope you guys have found this useful. There were a few people who were asking me if I could demonstrate some of these techniques, so I am of course happy to share that with you guys. If you did enjoy this, please like it and share it and help spread the word about Teach Me to Design. And as always, guys, go ahead and sign up for our email list and let us know how we can help you design better. See you next time.